Hello, Internet. How is everybody this lovely Friday evening? I have a bit of a half-baked show for you guys tonight. I'm going to apologize. Oh, Scarlett came out to see you. Hi. You want to say hi to... Oh, you're going to give a big stretch first? All right. How is everybody this Friday evening? All right. I don't even think they saw you, Scarlett. Okay, that's better. All right. Scarlett wants to say hi to everyone. Hope everybody's having a fantastic Friday. You made it. You made it all the way to Friday without murdering your boss. I'm so proud of you. I really am. Okay, can you go lay down? All right, well, we got a bunch of stuff to get into, but I didn't have a ton of time to set up this show. I just had a meeting with my friend Tracy Henderson from the California Parents Union, and we're talking about doing some things in the future. A lot of exciting stuff going on. You guys see I got my CaliBased shirt on. Are you excited? I got merch. Well, I don't really have merch for sale yet. This is sort of a proof of concept, if you will. And I like Scarlett. She just knocked over a 5.56 round, you guys. All right. Well, the government's spying on us, and they don't need a warrant. So you guys know about that. We got some Israel stuff to get into. Russia tested a hypersonic missile. Plenty of California shenanigans to get into. We got border stuff. All sorts of stuff to talk about. Don't know if I'll get into all of it because I'm probably doing a short show tonight. I got to get up early. I got some side work to do over there in the San Francisco tomorrow. I got to drive all the way to the city, and I got to be there by 7:30. So that's gonna be an early morning for me. B Sizzo, nice to see you. Yeah, sorry I'm doing a late show, 8 o'clock. I know it's weird. I just went and had dinner with some friends. We talked about working on maybe some public speaking events and getting some people together to try and expose the wokeness, if you will. But tonight, you know how we do it. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about, so let's get right into it. Let's go over to Mario Narwhals. Let's go over to Thomas Massey first, and let's just take a look at what we got. So they voted on. I'm not going to say this is a nothing burger, but I mean, how much difference is it really going to make if the government says, yeah, we'll get a warrant first to spy on you? I mean, the whole FISA thing. How much different is that really going to make it? They're going to spy on us. They have all the capabilities, all the data. They're going to spy on us. They're just going to. There's nothing really that we can do about it. So we'll talk about it. I busted my lip the other day. Scarlett freaking head-butted me in my lip, and now it's got a cut on it, and I don't like it. It hurts. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about. I guess it came down to the final vote. Came down to Speaker Mike Johnson's vote, and it's very weird. He voted against all this stuff before or for making the government get a warrant to spy on you. But I guess he changed his mind. Somebody changed his mind. What blackmail do they have on Mike Johnson? So this is what Thomas Massey has to say about it. He says, this is how the Constitution dies, by a tie vote. The amendment to require a warrant to spy on Americans goes down in flames. This is a sad day for America. The Speaker doesn't always vote in the House, but when he does, the tiebreaker today, he voted against warrants. Why would he do that, guys? Why would the Speaker vote against warrants? Doesn't make any sense. Not good for America. Let's keep going here. So let's go over to Edward Snowden, see what he has to say about it. He's the perfect person to talk to about this. So it's so funny how far we've come from Edward Snowden releasing all that information that the NSA was collecting data on us. I mean, way back when. Times are so different now. It was like 12 years ago that he did this. So Snowden says, whoa, let's see, hold on. There we go. Whoa, the White House is calling the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution a threat to national security. This is a real memo sent out today. The yellow highlighted sections just translate euphemism. The Biggs Amendment to plain language, Biggs warrant required. See below in QT. So it says requiring a warrant. So requiring a warrant would impose dangerous limits on the ability to review critical intelligence on key threats, including terrorist threats to the homeland, fentanyl supply chains, bringing deadly drugs into American communities, Russia war crimes, and hostile governments, requirement of spies. Okay. All right. And yeah, so this is just a big long memo. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but yeah, the government's essentially saying, well, the Constitution is impeding on our ability to be authoritarians. Yeah, that's what it's for. That's like freaking that one Supreme Court justice, the geez, I'm blanking on her name now. Is it Ketanji Brown Jackson? I think that is. She talked about how the First Amendment impedes the government's ability to control speech, essentially. Talking about how the First Amendment is a hindrance on the government. It's like, yes, that's exactly what these things are for, but they seem to be saying the quiet part out loud, so to speak. All right, let's keep going here. So these are all the 86 Republicans that voted to allow warrantless spying on Americans. 86 Republicans voted with Democrats. So usual characters. You got Crenshaw on there, of course. You've got Mike Gallagher on there, of course, the guy that brought the TikTok bill. So no surprise there, no shocker. Now let's listen. So Josie the redheaded libertarian, she's fantastic when it comes to breaking down the Constitution and American history, talking about why things that our founding fathers did were so important. So let's listen to her talk about this for a little bit. This is a clip she posted earlier. I asked her if I could talk about this on my show, and she gave me the go-ahead. So we'll go ahead and do it. Let's listen to Josie explain why the Fourth Amendment is so important.
So this is going to be one of the most important videos that I ever do. I'm going to tell you why we have the Fourth Amendment and why it's written the way that it's written, why it says shall not be violated. Our founders knew that their newly constituted federal government would try to expand their power and undermine the rights of Americans, because this is the essence of governments. Based on their experience, they knew that equipping government officers with these unfettered powers to search and seize would oppress the people. They knew that that would be exploited. How did they know that? Well, they lived it. See, prior to the American Revolution, the colonists had lived through something called general warrants. These warrants didn't require judicial approval. These warrants didn't require probable cause. These warrants were handed out arbitrarily and just gave government officials power to search, to seize, to do whatever they wanted with impunity. Now the king's ministries could just give out these warrants as they pleased, and this just opened the door for mass unchecked executive power. Of course they abused it. So who did the king target exactly with these general warrants? Disfavored religious minorities, political opponents, those who published pamphlets disfavoring the government. Some even used their powers to settle personal vendettas. Does this sound familiar? Does any of this sound familiar? James Otis was a Boston lawyer who coined the phrase taxation without representation, and he railed on these general warrants. He derided them as the worst instrument of arbitrary power, which placed the liberty of every man in the hands of every petty officer. You see, the British officers would also use these warrants to find smuggled good in which the taxes had not been paid. Our founding fathers recognized that giving the state these arbitrary powers to search the people would harm the people in ways that...
So think of this through the lens, or look at this through the lens of Merrick Garland and his, what do they call him? Like his emergency, his extreme risk assessment orders. ERPOs, I think it's what it was about. And basically anybody that, one of the criteria for his extreme risk protection orders, where he could go to a judge and say, hey, this person, we think this person might be a threat, we need to go seize their firearms. One of the criteria for that was recently purchased a firearm or ammunition. So now think about all the stuff you say online can be used. They're collecting all of this data, and with how AI has advanced, they can aggregate this data really easily. So every time you called the FBI a bunch of vaginas, every time you said that Merrick Garland is retarded, and they all sniff each other's farts, their pee-pee poo-poo faces, whatever. Anytime you said something bad about them, you go on some list. And through their extreme risk protection orders, they can make up a bunch of BS that you are a threat because of something you said online. You see all the people where FBI agents are just showing up at their house now because of something that they said online. I don't know if that's being a little more sensationalized than reality is, but I don't think it is. We're getting a lot more government overreach, especially from the FBI, especially after all the January 6th stuff, and making examples of people that, and they want to frame this as like a left-right issue. This isn't a left-right issue. This is a liberty issue. This is those who value individual freedom, those who value all the amendments in the Constitution, your First Amendment, your Second Amendment. They are now thinking of all liberty-minded people as a threat to the government because, well, in terms of exposing them and being in opposition to authoritarianism, we are a threat to their narrative, not talking about a violent threat in any way whatsoever, but that's how they'll frame it. And well, they don't need a warrant to collect all your data. Just any additional data, not that you put out there freely on the interwebs, but location data, your purchases, how all your apps are connected together, and they know everything about you. Anyway, let Josie keep talking.
Far surpass indignity and trespasses and making people feel bad. This is why after they broke from Britain, many of the states developed their own constitutions, and they put in what we would see as equivalents to the Fourth Amendment in each of their state constitutions. And we have the Fourth Amendment as a country. We live in the digital age. So the powers that be say that cell phones aren't protected and digital records aren't protected. We got to exploit the digital age to protect you from the digital age. You don't have these protections because they're digital and they weren't written down in the Constitution. Bet you motherfuckers. The 9th and 10th Amendments are the failsafe of the Constitution for when tyranny would inevitably rise again. The 10th Amendment says that the powers delegated to the federal government would be enshrined in the articles, and if it wasn't written there, then that went to the states and to the people. The 9th Amendment says, hey, just because we didn't write it down doesn't mean it's not a right.
Go Cheese Millennial, nice to see you. I do not know how to say that. Mahanish? Hello? Yeah, you got to sound that out phonetically for me. Nice to see you.
You don't get to have your rights violated because the founding fathers didn't write them down. That's what that means, and that's why that's my favorite amendment. In the first major decision breaking down the Fourth Amendment, the Supreme Court ruled that it is not breaking down doors and rummaging through drawers that would constitute an essence of offense, but rather the invasion of an indefeasible right to personal security and the state's unjustified encroachment into, quote, the privacies of life. Security is your birthright. It is enshrined in our Constitution. By your God or just by the sanctity of being human, you have the right to privacy. We're looming in a dystopia right now, but don't lose hope. Take care of each other.
You can see she takes this stuff very seriously, as we all should. Every day, the government gets a little more involved in your everyday life, and they see regular, ordinary American citizens as more and more of a threat. It's a problem, folks. It is a problem. The more the government pushes, the more the people want to push back, and it's a powder keg ready to explode. Endless wars that we can't do anything about. California, here we feel like we have no recourse whatsoever. Gavin Newsom can launder millions of dollars through his high-speed rail project. He can give no-bid contracts to people where they're going to inevitably give kickbacks to him and his cronies. NGOs that are claiming to help the homeless when all they're doing is perpetuating the problem, handing out fentanyl needles and allowing people to overdose on the streets. We have no recourse. And it seems that all of ordinary American citizens' everyday problems, the biggest problems that we have, are all because of government. and things that they are doing that go against the well-being of the American people. The wide open border, all of it. It's out of control. And, you know, Josie takes this stuff very seriously, as we all should. And yeah, wanted you guys to hear her talk about it because she can articulate things much better than I can. All right, let's on the even though Speaker Mike Johnson's decided to flip-flop on his idea for the FISA warrant, I guess to maybe try to bring the attention off of that, he decided that he's going to be bringing a bill requiring proof of citizenship to vote. And that would be a game changer here in California, but you know all Democrats are going to vote against it. And that should be there's probably going to be some Republicans to vote against it too. Well, I don't know. But that should tell you something right there. Why? What other reason, aside from you want illegal immigrants to be able to vote, what other reason would you have for requiring somebody to provide ID? They try to make it, they sound super racist when they say it, but they Democrats or liberals come out and say voter ID laws are racist because it's harder for black people to get an ID, which that whole idea, that whole way of thinking is in fact racist. It's comical, but that is their reason behind it. But Speaker Mike Johnson decided that they're going to be introducing a bill that would require everyone to show ID. So let's see what he has to say. I don't like this guy. I do not like this swampy little man.
And so what we're going to do is introduce legislation to require that every single person who registers to vote in a federal election must prove that they're an American citizen first. You have to prove it. That will be a new part of the federal law and a very important one. Our bill will establish new safeguards. It'll put us on par, by the way, with virtually every other democracy around the world that also prohibits non-citizens.
So I don't know what this was. Why was he speaking with Trump? What was this whole thing about? You guys got to let me know in the chat.
Voting. And this is a critical thing for us to do at a very critical time. Our bill also will require states to remove non-citizens from their existing voter rolls. That's a big problem too. And it will provide access to databases from the Department of Homeland Security and the Social Security Administration to help the states administer this. As the entity that is responsible for regulating federal elections, Congress has this responsibility. We cannot wait.
Superhuman, nice to see it.
For widespread fraud to occur, especially when the threat of fraud is growing with every single illegal immigrant that crosses that border. This is something most Americans are deeply concerned about. The latest poll says 78% of the Americans who are polled say that preventing illegal immigrants from voting in our elections is a top priority. In every place I've gone around the country.
And just a reminder, like I talk about all the time, California is essentially on the honor system to prove that you are an American citizen to vote. Just got to check a box. You can register to vote without being a United States citizen. You just got to say that you are, and you'll get a ballot. California is a sanctuary state. I promise you, illegal immigrants are voting in California elections, guaranteed.
Whether it's out west, Midwest, Long Island, Deep South, it doesn't matter. Everybody is concerned about this. We have a job to do. Here's what you need to look for, and I'll turn it back to the president. When we put this bill on the floor, you're going to see a record vote by Republicans and Democrats. You'll see that the Republicans stand for election integrity. And then we'll be able to ask this very important question of the Democrats. They're going to have to go on record. Do you believe that Americans and Americans alone should be the ones who vote in American elections? We're about to find out their answer. And I think that will be a very interesting one for everybody to see.
Look on Trump's face. Looks like he's not buying what he's saying. And that's all this is a stunt. They're just, it's not going to pass. So they just want to get everybody on the record. So that's all it is. He reminds you of Colbert. Jack Downing, nice to see you. It's funny. I was just talking about Stephen Colbert. I was talking about the ambiguously gay duo. You guys remember that? You guys remember the ambiguously gay duo? Oh yeah, sorry. I stopped my camera. Yeah, that was Stephen Colbert. That you guys remember the ambiguously gay duo? I think it was on Comedy Central. I think that's what it was. Yeah, one of them flew around on the other dude's back, and they were superheroes that fought crime, but they were gay, and they drove around in a penis car. Remember that? Stephen Colbert. He was one of the voices of that. I think he probably wants everybody to forget about that. All right, let's keep going here. I think that might be. Oh yeah, that's all I got for the FISA stuff. But I'm not going to say it's a nothing burger, but even if they passed it and said a judge has to sign a warrant to collect information on citizens, they've been collecting. The warrant's not going to stop them. So I don't know. This isn't a crazy huge deal to me, but I mean, it is a big deal. Don't get me wrong. It's a big deal, but my only point is they're going to spy on us either way, especially with how much data that we share now. It's going to happen. All right. Let's talk about the brewing war over there with Israel and Iran. It's it's escalating quickly, and if Iran strikes Israel and Israel strikes Iran back hard, the U.S. is essentially obligated to back them, and it's going to escalate very, very quickly once this thing starts getting ugly. So let's talk about it. Let's go over to Mario Narwhal's little black pill this evening, folks. All right, so Mario Nawals, he says, Iran to the U.S. Final warning, step aside. Iran reportedly has sent a message to America through Arab countries that U.S. forces in the region would be attacked if it intervened on Israel's behalf. Biden has said the U.S. relations with Israel is ironclad and reportedly has moved anti-missile destroyer near the Israeli coast in preparation for a potential attack from Iran. Okay, here's some pictures of the destroyer. So, yeah, and this footage came out earlier. I don't know if these are rockets coming from Gaza or if this is actually coming from Iran, but Iron Dome was activated and it was shooting down rockets or missiles or whatever these are. But you hear them laughing and stuff about it. So I don't know. And this was going, a lot of people were sharing the same video. So I'm pretty sure this is recent. This is today or last night, Israel time. But it doesn't look like any of the rockets or missiles or whatever these are made it through the Iron Dome. Looks like they shot down all of them.
תראו כמה! איפה צבע אדום? יואו, וואו! תראו כמה! אמא! וואי, תראו כמה! $1,000,000 עליו. יואו!
It really is an amazing technology, isn't it? So that was going viral earlier. Let's keep going here. Again, over to Mario Narwhals. So a former U.S. defense analyst says Netanyahu needs to bring Iran into the war. Michael Maloof, a former senior DoD secretary policy analyst, claimed Netanyahu chose to attack the Iranian consulate in Syria to draw Iran into a wider conflict such that U.S. would have to become involved. Netanyahu clearly calculated he had a limited window to act with the ultimate goal to bring Iran directly into conflict, having the U.S. military to back his efforts. It also was a response to calls by his more radical, rabid ministers to cut off the head of the snake, Iran, or they'd bring down his government, making Netanyahu lose power and expose him to legal criminal charges at home. So, from my understanding, Netanyahu is not too popular among the Israeli people right now, and so this is like it's both to save his own ass, to try and hold on to his own power, and people are speculating that, you know, if they go to full scale war with Iran, all the atrocities that they've committed, what they're doing in Gaza, and all the war crimes they've committed will be sort of forgotten about, and that won't be center stage anymore. So it'll be sort of a two-pronged thing. Drag US into it to cut off the head of the snake, keep him in power, you know, change the mind of the Israeli people. I don't know why going to full-scale war with Iran would make the Israeli people approve of him more, but I guess that's their logic behind it. Yeah, well, we'll keep going here. Again with Mario Narwhals. He says, breaking, Turkey informs the U.S. it will not permit the use of its airspace against Iran. So things escalating. So, you know, people are canceling flights. Flights are being canceled to and over Iran and Israel in anticipation of airstrikes. Austrian Airlines has canceled all its flights to Iran until April 18th. Israeli media reporting that civil traffic over Israeli's airspace has been cleared in anticipation for Iranian strike. There's no aircraft airborne above Israeli airspace, with the only remaining pings stationary to Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv. And people are like, I believe it was France, is telling people to get out of the French consulate, and everybody's gearing up for a full-scale war. It seems everybody's fully anticipating this, and it seems like this is what Israel wants: this full-scale war with Iran, and they're dragging us into it. And oh look, they're armed Israeli settlers are on a rampage. So this is from Al-Shabazz. Al-Shabazz Shadri is an anti-Israeli account. Armed Israeli settlers are on a rampage, burning Palestinian homes and terrorizing Palestinian families. This is not self-defense, it's terrorism. This is not Gaza, this is Ramallah in the West Bank. So apparently Israeli settlers are once again taking over people's homes in the West Bank, burning them to the ground, attacking Palestinian families. That's what's being reported here. So this is not Gaza. This is the West Bank. All right, keep going here. And in addition to all of this, it looks like Russia decided to test a hypersonic missile today. So that's encouraging as well. You guys saw this. I believe they saw it over Iraq. Looks like one of Elon's rockets. Did it blow up or did it just disappear because it's so fast? I don't know. Everyone's gearing up for war, folks, and it is not encouraging. Not at all. Not at all, folks. I am not encouraged. All right. Well, we'll keep going here. I'm trying to get through everything. I'm going to try to only do an hour tonight. So we'll see how far we get into this. Probably have more than an hour worth of stuff pulled up, but I'll try to get through all of it. So we got some stuff going on over in Brazil. it seems like the whole world is going full totalitarian. Brazil is trying to shut up Elon. I won't even share the screen for this one, but this is David Agape testifies. Question: the U.S. Apparently the FBI interfered in Brazil's elections back in 2021 with Bolsonaro and what's the current president or prime minister's name? It was a very, very tight margin. It was like 51 to 49%. It was a very close race. And well, this is the question. The U.S. at some point in 2021, in the lead up to the elections, FBI invited to influence our election process by making suggestions. Is that correct, David? Yes, or correct. Question: Who invited the entity in? Was it the court itself or was it the Brazilian government? David, it was the TSE, Tribunal Superior Electoral. It's like some electoral commission. So it looks like the FBI was invited in to interfere with Brazil's elections. That's what's being reported here anyway. The source is Space Liberdade. I won't play the video because it's in Portuguese, but yeah, so that's being alleged. But more importantly, they are trying to censor the hell out of Twitter in Brazil. So some authoritarian judge is trying to force Elon to take down very specific accounts within a couple of hours when they demand it. So they want the ability to essentially do what the FBI was doing with old Twitter. They want the ability to have some sort of back channel into Twitter saying, hey, you need to censor this. Lula, thank you, Superhuman. They need to censor, you need to kick this account off of Twitter because we don't like what he's saying. And Brazil is sort of demanding that authority, or they're going to fine Elon a whole bunch of money with every infraction. They want to hold him like criminally liable. So let's listen to Schellenberger explain this. If you guys don't know, Michael Schellenberger, he was one of the journalists that Elon released the Twitter files to. Schellenberger, Barry Weiss, and Matt Taibbi. The RGS, the FBI is always the root of the trouble these days. Well, I mean, yeah, I would say the root, though. They're more of a symptom. All right, let's go over to Schellenberger here, see what he has to say about this.
Hey everyone, it's Mike Schellenberger, and I'm reporting to you at this moment from Brazil, where a dramatic series of events are underway. At 5:52 p.m. Eastern Time today, April 6, 2024, X Corporation, formerly known as Twitter, announced that a Brazilian court had forced it to, quote, block certain popular accounts in Brazil. Then, less than 1 hour later, the owner of X, Elon Musk, announced that X would defy the court's order and lift all restrictions. As a result, said Musk, we will probably lose all revenue in Brazil and have to shut down our office there. But principles matter more than profit, he added. At any moment, Brazil's Supreme Court could shut off all access to X Twitter for the people of Brazil. It is not an exaggeration to say that Brazil is on the brink of dictatorship at the hands of a totalitarian Supreme Court justice named Alexandre de Moraes.
So Brazil is obviously not part of Europe, but this is very similar to what Thierry Breton and the EU decided to do with the Digital Services Act. And they want to make certain speech illegal. They just everywhere in the world, including here in the United States, including Western countries, Australia, Canada, they want the ability to control what people are allowed to talk about. And it's just the totalitarianism grows a little bit every day. They hate that we have a platform that we're allowed to just say things on, just share information, especially coming into an election. Look at how different we are here in 2024 leading up to the election as opposed to what we were dealing with in 2020. Everybody's locked down, and you would get suspended on Twitter for sharing the Hunter Biden laptop. You'd get suspended on Twitter for sharing any information about vaccine injuries. You would get suspended on Twitter if you tried to share the Tara Reade story. All of these things would have had a negative impact on the Biden campaign. And with what a razor thin margin there was, it could be strongly argued that the 2020 election was rigged purely through the control of speech online by our government with what we learned in the Twitter files. And that's what Brazil is trying to do. And it looks like, if Brazil loses X in Brazil, it's really the only free platform, mostly free platform, that you're allowed to say disparaging things about the government, expose corruption. All the other platforms, Meta, all the other platforms, pretty much all of them, Google, YouTube, they're all going to suppress speech. X is the only one that's not, and looks like they might get shut down in Brazil if this continues.
President Lula da Silva is also participating in this push towards totalitarianism. Since taking office, Lula has massively increased government funding of the mainstream corporate news media, most of which are encouraging increased censorship. What Lula and Jim Moraes are doing is an outrageous violation of Brazil's constitution as well as the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. At this moment, Brazil is not yet a dictatorship. It still has elections, and the Brazilian people have other means at their disposal to confront authoritarianism. At the same time, the federal Supreme Court and the Superior Electoral Court, which it controls, are directly interfering in those elections through censorship. 3 days ago, I arrived in Brazil and published the Twitter files for Brazil. They show that Jim Moraes has violated the Brazilian constitution in multiple ways. He illegally demanded that Twitter reveal private information about Twitter users who used hashtags that he considered inappropriate. He demanded access to Twitter's internal data, violating the platform's policy. He censored on his own initiative, without any respect for due process, posts on Twitter by parliamentarians from the Brazilian Congress. And Moraes tried to turn Twitter's content moderation policies into a weapon against supporters of then-President Jair Bolsonaro. I say all of this as an independent and nonpartisan journalist. I'm not a fan of either Bolsonaro or Trump. My own political views are very moderate, but I know censorship when I see it. The Twitter files revealed also that Google, Facebook, Uber, WhatsApp, and Instagram betrayed the people of Brazil. If this evidence is proven and admitted to, the executives of those companies behaved like cowards. They provided the Brazilian government with personal registration data and telephone numbers without a court order. Therefore, they violated the Brazilian laws. When Twitter refused, to their credit, to provide Brazilian authorities with private user information, including direct messages, the government of Brazil attempted to sue and hold Brazil's top Twitter attorney in criminal contempt. When I was in Brazil in 1992, at the time, the slogan of the Workers' Party was "without fear of being happy." In recent days, I've spoken to dozens of Brazilians, including professors, journalists, and respected lawyers. All of them told me that they are shocked by what is happening here. They told me that they themselves are afraid to speak their mind, and that the Lula government, the Workers' Party government, is complicit in creating this climate of fear. Look, Brazil belongs to the Brazilians. It's not my country, such there's limits to what I'm capable of doing. But what I can say is that there are many Brazilians who do not feel safe saying what must be said. Alexandre de Moraes is a tyrant, and the only way to deal with tyrants is to confront them. It's up to Brazil's senators now to confront this tyrant, and it's up to the people of Brazil to demand that their senators do so. In 1992, my best Brazilian friend gave me a t-shirt that I loved. On it was a cartoon of Brazil's military dictators who had painted the sky black. Beside them were children who were smiling and throwing stars up into the dark sky. It said, "They painted the sky black, but we brought back the stars." Alexandre de Moraes and Lula are painting the sky black. The time has come for the Brazilian people to let the light.
His videos always get cut short. He just did a great talk with Glenn Greenwald. Glenn Greenwald's doing a lot of great coverage on this as well. I believe Glenn Greenwald's in Brazil, from my understanding. And he's probably my favorite reporter out there. So, yeah, go follow Glenn Greenwald and check out what he's doing, because he is down the rabbit hole with all this stuff. All right, let's listen to Elon talk about it. So this is from Doge Designer. He's quoting Elon here. He says, we kept getting these demands from Judge Alexander to suspend accounts of the sitting members of the parliament and major journalists. We could not tell them we could not tell them that this was on the behest of Alexander. We had to pretend that it was due to our rules. That was basically Elon's final straw with all of this. This is just audio of Elon talking.
From this Judge Alexander. That's his name on Twitter, at Alexander.
Is it funny to you guys that he just called it Twitter? I mean, he renamed his company X and he still calls it Twitter. I think that's funny.
And there would be, to suspend accounts immediately. We were given typically 2 hours to suspend an account or face massive fines. And the final straw is we were being given demands to suspend sitting members of the parliament and major journalists. And moreover, we could not tell them that this was at the behest of Alexander Morales. We had to pretend that it was due to our rules of service.
So that's just extra dirty. Even the Digital Services Act isn't doing that. Like in Germany, when they say your post has been taken down in Germany because it breaks German law or whatever, they tell you that this is because of the German government. This isn't because of X. Government's forcing us to do that. This Alexander guy was saying, yeah, you can't even tell. You guys got to say it was because of your content moderation rules. Like, how shady is that? Why not just own the censorship that you're applying to your people's words? Why not just own it? You're being extra shady about this.
And that was the final straw, and we said no.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, Brazil is becoming a bit more of a totalitarian regime every day, it seems. All right, let's keep going here. It's enough of the Brazil stuff. We talked about that. All right. You know what? All right, I want to get into... There's a whole bunch of stuff I want to get into. I want to get into... This is mainly California stuff, but this is like California mixed with border stuff. It's sort of border stuff that moves into California type stuff, but I might have time to get through all of these. I might go a little longer than an hour because I want to get through all of these that I've pulled up. All right, let's see here. Let's go. Oopsies. Jeez, I'm a mess tonight, guys. I'm sorry. I told you this show's a little bit half-baked tonight. I didn't have a lot of time to prep for this show. All right, let's go over to Wall Street Apes. And this dude's funny. This guy's kind of funny. So, got some shenanigans, guys. Oopsie. Yeah, I am a disaster tonight, you guys. I apologize. All right, let's go over to Wall Street Apes. All right, so this is about voter ID, and this is why it goes into our California stuff. But let's listen to this gentleman explain it.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I hope that you are doing well today. The reason I bring up this little green screen is because a little bird told me to look into this, a friend of mine. And I wanted to bring it to your attention. So as we know, they've been shipping a lot of illegal people all over the country. And they're bringing them into Wisconsin. Now, this says free ID for voting. Get an ID for voting, even if you do not have the documentation to get a regular Wisconsin ID. This is on Wisconsin.'s website, okay?
So clearly, Wisconsin has laws where you have to show an ID in order to vote, unlike California, where you just have to check a box and say, yes, I'm an American citizen.
I'm going to show you something else. Let's really look at number 3 here. If you don't have all or any of these, you can still get an ID for voting. I'm willing to bet that the blue people are giving them hunties to vote blue. If this isn't election interference that's going on in the United States right now, and this is one state, You can look this up, honey, Wisconsin.com. I don't know what is.
And that's just Wisconsin. So again, California, you don't need ID to vote, but the DMV, when you get a driver's license, they automatically register you to vote. Well, illegal immigrants can get driver's licenses. So how does that work? California elections are so extra shady. This appears that they're trying to get around Wisconsin's voter ID laws to allow illegal immigrants to vote. Everybody's been saying it, that this is one of the reasons why they're flooding our country with people that aren't from here. And all of them are thankful that Joe Biden let them come in. If they were allowed to vote, then they would vote a certain way. All right, well, let's continue in the border, or wide open border sort of topic here. Let's go over to Alex Mickelson, and this is now going into the California stuff. So he's interviewing an ICE agent, and he went on raids in LA and Boston. And he starts talking about the sanctuary cities and sanctuary state policies. And I was just talking about this with Tracy Henderson from the California Parents Union. You guys give her a follow. She's awesome. It's my lawyer. Sanctuary state policies, at least here in California, and I believe everywhere that has a sanctuary state policy, they do not cooperate with ICE. They will not hand over criminals that commit a crime. They know that they're illegal immigrants. They're not allowed to, by law, hand them over to ICE. They're not allowed to cooperate with ICE. And that's unless they've been convicted of a crime, and even then they won't cooperate with them, but convicted of a crime, not arrested for a crime. So that means a judge has to find them guilty. And here in San Francisco, I always talk about this, the Hondos, the illegal immigrant, the Honduran drug dealers in San Francisco that deal fentanyl on the streets. First of all, they're not supposed to be here. They're not supposed to be here in the first place. And, well, they are. Cops know who they are. They could easily arrest them and have them deported if the law allowed them to, but they're not allowed to cooperate with ICE agents. In addition to that, they know that they're drug dealers. They know that they're dealing fentanyl. Well, they're telling people that they're selling them fentanyl, but it's usually tranq. Like 90% tranq now is, if you guys don't know what tranq is, it's a horse tranquilizer. That's why you see people slumped over like zombies in extremely awkward looking positions. And you're like, how could somebody pass out like that? Well, it also, this horse tranquilizer, the human body can't handle it. So this is why you see all these festering wounds on people. You see people's limbs like quite literally rotting off. You see like flesh rotting off. It looks like skin necrosis. That's from this drug, tranq. It's a horse tranquilizer. The human body can't handle it. Well, illegal immigrant Honduran drug dealers can get caught dealing drugs. They can get busted with a backpack full of drugs, money, a scale, and they'll be put in jail, and a drug will release them within 48 hours. So they're not convicted of a crime. They're allowed to go right back out. They'll be given a court date, or the charges might just be dismissed. Chesa Boudin is on Chesa Boudin's the former district attorney of San Francisco, and Brooke Jenkins took over for him after he was recalled. But Chesa Boudin is notoriously on a video talking about, these Honduran fentanyl dealers, they were trafficked here. And if we deport them, then they won't be able to send money back to the cartels, and the cartels will hurt their families. So we basically just got to keep letting them do this. This is the district attorney saying this. And, Chesa Boudin was recalled. Brooke Jenkins took over for him, but she's still fighting an uphill battle because you got all of these rogue judges that aren't district attorneys, but they're the ones that can just release these people and not drop the charges against them. So you have people that aren't supposed to be here in the first place. Even if they weren't committing a crime, they could easily be deported if we enforced our laws. If we just enforced border policy, enforced California state laws. But in addition, they are quite literally killing people on the streets of San Francisco, and they're not doing it quickly. They're doing it by letting them rot away. They know that they're not selling them fentanyl too. They're saying they're selling them fentanyl. It's really tranq. It's horrible. It's disgusting what's happening. And this is all because of California sanctuary state policies. That it's all from that, and corrupt rogue judges. And Gavin Newsom has the audacity to talk regularly about how, it's Republicans that aren't funding this border bill, where you don't, everyone that is looking at this honestly, that has just a general understanding of how border policy could work, understands that you don't need any additional money to stop the bleeding at the border. No additional money. All you have to do is start enforcing things that are on the books, bring back the Remain in Mexico policy, all of these executive orders that Biden did on his first day in office to chip away at the border policies that Trump enacted. Everybody knows the border situation was much better when Trump was in office, and people were waiting for Biden to get into office to flood the border. And I'll stop rambling on it. Let's listen to this ICE agent talk about it. I was shocked that Alex Mickelson actually talked about this.
At a targeted operation where they were going after drug trafficking.
And along with ICE here in Los Angeles. What did you see?
So they had a targeted operation where they were going after drug traffickers. So they developed intel on 3 convicted felons, all convicted of felony drug trafficking, who are out in the community here in Los Angeles. LA is a sanctuary city, so the locals don't work with the feds. So ICE went out, arrested all 3 of them. Some had violent histories as well. Some had been deported multiple times. All had been released from custody without any notice to ICE. So ICE says, look, we're only going to go after the bad apples. We're not going after kids at school or grandmas in hospitals. We're going to go after convicted felons. So they picked up 3 of them and got them off the streets here.
And talk more about that when it comes to the sanctuary policy. How is that different than, say, in a different city?
So essentially, say someone who's in the U.S. illegally commits a crime and gets convicted of a felony. Eventually, they got to get let out of jail or let out of prison. In a sanctuary jurisdiction, the locals will not notify ICE that, hey, this convicted child molester is going to be let out of jail. You might want to come get him. Or ICE will file what's called a detainer request, which is the Fed saying, hey, locals, can you please hold on to this guy for 48 hours so we can get agents there to take him into custody? The locals, if they're a sanctuary jurisdiction, they will not cooperate. They'll just release him to the streets.
Like, how insane is that? You guys, like, convicted sex offenders, people that have been deported multiple times, local cops aren't allowed to even give ICE a heads up. This is Cloward Piven strategy on steroids. This is Gavin Newsom's direct policy. He could stop this immediately. The legislature, the Senate, they could put up a bill saying, you know what, these sanctuary state policies are out of control. We have to start cooperating with ICE, especially with people that are violent criminals, been convicted of stuff in the past. We have to start deporting people. Our legislature, our Senate, and Gavin Newsom could easily do this tomorrow if they wanted to. But what are they more concerned about? They're more concerned about making sure that kids have access to cartoon pornographic literature in their libraries and schools. That's what they're more concerned about. They're more concerned about forcing your kid to have all their vaccines in order to be able to go to school. They're more concerned about telling doctors that if you talk to your patients about vaccine side effects, we could take your license away. That's what our state government is more concerned about. They're not concerned about getting violent criminals off the street and deporting them back to the country they came from. They're not concerned about that at all. What does it tell you? They hate you. Our California government hates you.
Boston, also a sanctuary jurisdiction. You went out with ICE there. Here's some of that.
How are you guys not notified about a child rapist being released?
Unfortunately, in Massachusetts, that's how it is with most of these sanctuary jurisdictions.
So similar problem there. What did you see on the streets of Boston?
It's actually a way worse problem in Boston. Their sanctuary policies are way more significant than here in LA. It was a jaw dropper. In one single morning when I was with ICE in Boston, they arrested 4 alleged child rapists and a violent MS-13 gang member, all in just a few hours. And every single one of them had been released from local custody. They did not honor ICE's detainer request. They were just put back out into the community, and ICE had to go find them.
Like, what conclusions do you have to draw from that? They are intentionally, knowingly releasing child predators and violent criminals back onto the street when they're not even citizens. They're not from this country. And they're allowing them to commit horrible, horrible crimes, and they will just put them back out in the public with you guys, sharing buses with them, sharing coffee shops with them. What conclusions do you have to draw from that? They hate you and they want you to suffer. That's the only conclusion you can draw.
Child rapists.
It's insane. Child rapists. You heard him say it right there. It's insane. All right, we'll keep going. It's yeah. So then you have, so this is from the governor of California, his California governor Twitter account. And he says, let's be clear. POTUS is doing all he can to fund border security and humanitarian efforts while Republicans in Congress are choosing border chaos for political gain. Like, what are we doing? Anyone looking at this knows, like, wait, holy crap, are you really blaming Republicans for, and I'm not a Republican. I don't like Republicans. Just look what they just voted. 86 of them just voted with Democrats to say that the government can spy on you without a warrant. I'm not a fan of Republicans, but how are you making this purely political when all of these border policies are because of Biden and California being a border state? We have a wide open border and we incentivize illegal immigrants to come here. We'll give you free health care. We'll give you a driver's license. You can get housing assistance. You can become a nurse. You can become a cop. You can go to college. All of these incentives for illegal immigrants that are paid for by California taxpayers. And he has the audacity to say it's because Republicans are holding up some border bill, and all it is throwing more money at the problem when it's not even going to secure the border. All that money is for more border patrol agents that are really just human traffickers at this point to process the people coming in. It's not to secure the border. And Gavin's it's gaslighting to the max. Let's read the whole statement. Governor Newsom commends Biden's border funding, slams congressional Republicans, April 12, 2024. Let's be clear. President Biden is doing all he can to fund border security and humanitarian efforts while Republicans in Congress are choosing to border chaos for political gain. As local communities implement this funding that the Republicans reduced, Congress must now act on the bipartisan border security deal that would further fund security, humanitarian efforts, and resources to better address the challenges at the border and crack down on fentanyl trafficking. And he has to throw the fentanyl trafficking in there. I already talked to you about the illegal immigrants from Honduras dealing fentanyl on the streets of San Francisco. Should I also mention that the head of the San Jose Police Union, Janet Segovia, was recently busted as being a fentanyl trafficker? The head of the San Jose Police Union? And he's saying it's because Republicans aren't funding a border bill. This happened in San Jose, California. The head of the police union. That story just disappeared. Just went poof, bye-bye. Nobody's reporting it on anymore. And I guess nobody else was helping Janet Segovia distribute and import all of this fentanyl. She was doing it all on her own. This white Betty Crocker looking Nana was a fentanyl kingpin all on her own. Nobody else knew about it. Head of the San Jose Police Union. And Gavin Newsom has the audacity to say it's because the Republicans won't pass this border bill that won't actually secure the border. It'll only help process people coming into this country more. It's the ultimate gaslighting, and it's infuriating. It's freaking infuriating. All right, let's keep going with some California stuff. Okay, here we go again. California hasn't been tracking homeless programs' effectiveness audit finds. So all of these billions of dollars that they give to these non-governmental organizations to distribute tents, to distribute fentanyl needles, to distribute crack pipes, the things you tie your arm off with, the little, they call them cookers, all the drug paraphernalia. Like the California government will provide everything a drug addict needs to consume the drugs on the streets of San Francisco and give them a tent to consume these drugs in. The only thing they're not giving them is the drugs themselves, but they will also give them monthly money on a debit card that I believe they can just pull cash out too. So they're giving them the money to buy the drugs, and then they are allowing the illegal immigrants to sell the drugs on the streets. You have to ask at a certain point, and illegal immigrants from Honduras that are selling the drugs on the streets of San Francisco, you know they're connected to the cartels. Chesa Boudin already confirmed that. If we don't allow them to sell the drugs on the streets, the cartels will come after their families. So all of this stuff working together, you have to ask, is San Francisco under control of the cartels? With the drugs, just the judges not prosecuting or dropping charges or releasing them. You have to ask the question. Let's read this article. This is from KTVU Fox 2. Let's see. California hasn't been tracking homeless programs effectiveness, audit finds. Sacramento, California. California spent $24 billion to tackle homelessness over a 5-year period, but didn't consistently track the outcomes or effectiveness of its programs, according to the state audit released on Tuesday. The report attempts to assess how effective the state and local cities have been spending billions of dollars to address the ongoing homelessness crisis in California. An estimated 171,000 people are homeless in California, which amounts to roughly 30% of all homeless people in the United States. Despite the roughly $24 billion spent on homeless and housing programs during the 2018 to 2023 fiscal years, the problem didn't improve in many cities. No kidding. What a shocker. What a shocker that handing out drug paraphernalia and tents didn't help the problem. And more people came here seeking that stuff. What a shocker. It all started when State Senator Dave Cortez visited one of the largest homeless encampments in San Jose. Oh, okay. San Jose is my hometown, you guys. We've always had a homeless problem, but it's only gotten worse as I've gotten older. He said he began asking the city whether the money spent on housing programs was cost effective. When he found insufficient data collected at the city level, he and other state leaders penned a letter asking the Joint Legislative Audit Committee to look into it. The letter included Assembly members Evan Lowe and Josh Hoover, as well as Senators Rosalise Ochoa-Bowe and Roger Nilo. Up until last year, midway through 2023, there was no centralization of data around the flow of dollars from the state to local jurisdictions, said Cortez. Among other things, the report found that California Interagency Council on Homelessness, which is responsible for coordinating agencies and allocating resources for homeless programs, stopped tracking spending on programs and their outcomes in 2021. Despite the continuous funding from the state, it also failed to develop It also failed to develop a collect and that's just worded poorly. It also failed to develop a collect and evaluate outcome data of these programs due to the lack of consistent method. The audit said the council has not established a consistent method for gathering information on homelessness programs, costs, and outcomes, leaving the state without information that would allow decision makers to make data-driven decisions. A spokesperson from the council wrote in an email statement, the state auditor's findings highlights the significant progress made in recent years to address homelessness at the state level, including the completion of a statewide assessment of homelessness programs, but it also underscores a need to continue to hold local government accountable, who are primarily responsible for implementing these programs and collecting data on outcomes that the state can use to evaluate program effectiveness. You know, like these tiny home initiatives. That's the thing too, is they make all these little tiny home communities, these tiny homes that are made out of shoddy materials. They're just the cheapest possible thing that you could put a body into. But if you were to try and build a home the exact same way, build like a little tiny home and put it on your property, you'd have building inspectors up your ass. But as long as the government's doing it and putting homeless drug addicts in there, it's fine. With makeshift tents lining the streets and disrupting business in communities across the state, homelessness has become one of the most frustrating issues in California. No kidding. The report notes that some data regarding the number of program participants and bed inventory in the state system might not be accurate or reliable. The council, which lawmakers created to help the state deal with its homelessness problem, also has only reported on homelessness spending once since its creation in 2017, according to the report. Without reliable and recent data on its spending, the state will continue to lack complete and timely information about the ongoing costs associated with and associated outcomes of its homelessness programs, the audit contends. California funds more than 30 programs to tackle homelessness. The audit assesses 5 initiatives and finds only 2 of them, the efforts to turn hotel and motel rooms into housing and housing-related supportive programs, are likely cost-effective. The remaining programs, which received collectively $9.4 billion since 2020, did not have any data to be fully assessed, the report says. No data on it. Just $9 billion. Just, there's no accountability. $9 billion. This isn't the Federal Reserve printing money. This is California taxpayer dollars. $9 billion just given to these NGOs, and there's no tracking of the money, no tracking of the efficiency of these programs, nothing whatsoever. Just here you go. Here's the money. Spend it however you please. No need to say whether the plan is working or not. And then they say the things that are cost effective are turning hotel and motel rooms into housing and housing related support programs. Oh, okay. So you're taking hotels that could be housing paying customers that come to San Francisco, come to whatever city to, be a tourist and contribute to the local economy. You're taking those rooms, those hotels, you're taking them off the market now. But that's the cost effective thing. Unbelievable. The state auditor also reviewed homelessness spending in 2 major cities, San Jose and San Diego, and found both failed to effectively track revenues and spending due to the lack of spending plans. I think what the report is clear on is we need an all above approach. We need low rungs on the ladder, basic dignified shelters, as well as the long-term solution, which is building more affordable housing. We need a comprehensive framework for data and performance measurement, said the San Jose mayor, Matt Mahan. Okay, I don't like Matt Mahan, but I actually agree with that. Matt Mahan's the one that's trying to make people register their guns in San Jose. He's making a gun registry. Don't get me started on that. But the old school homeless shelters, like, why did we get? What happened to this? What happened to our old school homeless shelters where it's like, we'll give you a bed, a cot, a place to get back on your feet, somewhere to, keep your stuff while you're going to work, trying to get back on your feet. We'll give you a place to stay, but there's no drugs. We got strict rules and stuff. And then enforcing actual laws out on the streets. You can't go and shoot up on the streets. How did we get so far away from this? Accountability while still offering homeless shelters to help people get back on their feet. Because there are people that are in, I had to go to the Social Security office yesterday. I had to go there and get a printout of like all of my employment, because I'm trying to get this certification that I have to show my hours for the industry that I was in. So I had to go to the Social Security office to do that. I also got a replacement Social Security card while I was there because I haven't had one in like 10 years. Anyway, there's a guy there. I think he was like 70 years old. He's got 2 sticks. He could barely walk. And he was looking for some type of assistance. And he was talking about, he was like, I was staying with a lady, but they kicked me out. He's like, I'm not on drugs. I don't drink. I don't do nothing. I would love to go back to work, but he could barely walk. And he was just basically there like, is there anything you guys can help me do? I'm living out of my truck. And this is like, these are the people that we should be trying to take care of. It crushed me listening to this old man that's in his 70s. His body's falling apart. He's in his twilight years. He's not on drugs. He's not a thief. He's not an alcoholic. I don't know his background. He may have felonies. I don't know. But It's a sad situation, and these are the people that we should be trying to help. But instead, we're pouring money down the drain to allow drug addicts to not only allow drug addicts, but promote the use of drugs on our streets and safe consumption sites. And they call it harm reduction. It's sick what we're doing. And there are genuine people out there that are good people that aren't on drugs, that are trying the best they can to just figure it out and get back on their feet. And they don't have programs available for them. But if they were a junkie, they would have whatever they wanted. Everything's backwards. Nothing makes sense. They call themselves progressives. This audit will establish somewhat of a blueprint for the legislative direction and guardrails going forward to improve upon some of these areas. These deficiencies and systematic issues that this audit calls out, said Cortese. Cortese also said auditors tell him there is no evidence of fraud, and he doesn't think the state should stop sending funding, but instead focus on record keeping and transparency so the money can be allocated in any way that makes the best impact. There's no evidence of fraud, guys. They can't tell you where the money went, but there's no evidence of fraud. Don't worry. Everything's on the up and up. Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. All right, let's keep going here with some more California shenanigans. Let's see. He says a function indicates motive sometimes. Exactly. Superhuman. Keep pumping into the info, Michael. People need to hear this. They need to be shocked into disgust. Okay, I'm on it. Thanks, man. The RGS, if you're watching, give it a thumbs up. Yeah, I forgot. I always forget. You guys, if you're, whatever platform you're watching on, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. Reposts if you're watching over on Twitter. That stuff always helps. Leave a comment. All that good stuff. Definitely helps the algorithm. If you want to contribute to the show, there is a link in my bio. My Give, Send, Go. Go ahead and tap on it if you want to contribute to the show. It's a cold game in these streets. All right, let's keep going here. This is from the California Globe. California paying 140% more for electricity than other states. These are Governor Gavin Newsom's policies. He owns it. I'm not going to read this article because I don't have time. Yeah, I don't have time to read this article, but we're paying. California Globe does good work. I'm just going to go with their headline here and believe them when they say that California is paying 140% more for electricity than other states. 140% more than double. Okay. All right. And what's this next thing? What's the next thing we got? Gavin Newsom. Millions of Californians are eligible for an average of $146 in credits on their April utility bill. You get that, guys? You can get up to, I'm sorry, an average of $146 in credits on their April utilities bill. You might be thinking, wait a minute, $146? What is your utilities bill even? How could your utilities bill be $146? Yeah. You guys, for 3 months, not too long ago, I got my power turned off because I couldn't afford to keep my freaking power on. Yep, that's how much of a budget show I'm running. But it was $1,300 for 3 months. I live in a 500 square foot place. $1,300. It's insane. It's absolutely insane here. And then Gavin Newsom has the audacity to say, hey, look what we're giving you. We're giving you $146 back in credits. Why is power so expensive here? Because the requirements for X amount of electricity to come from green energy, that kind of crap. And it's only going to get worse. They're only going to make this worse. Keep going. You guys know all the crime in Oakland? Well, rest assured, here's again from Gavin Newsom. 480 new high-tech cameras are being installed along freeways and in Oakland to make the area safer. Don't you guys feel safer, Oakland? This is back from March 29th. So since then, In-N-Out Burger's closed. The Oakland A's aren't even going to stay in Oakland for like the final season. They're going to play out of Sacramento because they don't want to be associated with Oakland anymore. The Oakland airport is trying to add San Francisco Bay to the front of their name because they don't even want to be associated with Oakland. Businesses are closing down left and right. There's tons of small businesses are getting robbed daily. There's this one donut shop that gets robbed like once a week at gunpoint. It's insane in Oakland. It's absolutely insane in Oakland. But don't worry, guys. Gavin Newsom installed 480 new high-tech cameras. Guaranteed there were no bid contracts that went to some contractor that probably contributed to his campaign. I'm speculating on that, but this is how they launder money. Hey, we're going to have these government programs. We're going to spend a bunch of money on stuff. We'll hire your construction company because, you contributed to my campaign. You can give us a bid on how much it's going to cost. Go ahead, make it twice as expensive as it should be. Just make sure that we get a cut back into this nonprofit over here that I set up. That's how they do this stuff. That's how they launder money. It's infuriating. California is so infuriating. This was a funny video. I'm gonna try and get through all this stuff. So this is out of San Francisco, and this just shows how crazy. This would look like a repo attempt, so this isn't parking. But look at this. They tried to this wrecker tried to repo a car in traffic while the person was driving.
It was a terrifying experience that Joanne and her husband are still processing.
We were freaking out. We were calling, we were like basically rolling down our window saying like, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, you can't be doing that.
Out of nowhere, this yellow tow truck began to back up and try to drag their vehicle while they waited at a red light in San Francisco.
He started backing up and his lever came down. And so basically he's just backing up, trying to latch onto our car.
Today, the San Francisco city attorney confirmed the towing company Specialty Towing is known to their office for violating state laws prior to this incident.
This company appears to be the same towing company that my office had previously moved to suspend and debar from receiving city contracts.
After viewing the video, city attorney Chu said the latest incident is simply illegal.
It could likely be violating a number of laws, potentially criminal laws. The fact that we have seen yet another way in which this company is violating the law, unfortunately, it's not surprising, but the video is shocking nonetheless.
Prior to this incident, the city received complaints from multiple victims who were allegedly scammed by Specialty Towing. The city then proceeded to block Specialty Towing and their other towing companies under the same ownership from working with the city on enforcing parking laws.
Specialty Towing is an affiliated company with a company called Auto Towing, so they're all essentially part of the same operation. Auto Towing had been illegally towing cars off a private lot without the permission of the property owner. On top of that, they were strictly limiting the hours during which cars could be picked up and pressuring the owners to pay in cash.
We called the tow.
Yeah, the tow companies are so dirty in San Francisco, and a lot of the places. Well, this was before COVID when it was hard to find parking, but a lot of the places in the financial districts in San Francisco, I swear you need a cipher to be able to figure out if you're allowed to park in certain places, because it'll be like no parking in the gray between the yellow and blue every third Wednesday and Tuesday of every other leap year during the hours of 12 to noon. I said 12 to noon on purpose. It's insane what all of the information the sign says, and you're walking back and forth trying to, can I park here? Can I not? I don't know. Like, the signs are impossible to figure out. I got my work van towed in San Francisco once. I walked in, I thought I could park somewhere, walked in, come out, van's gone. I mean, they must have got my van within 10 minutes. It was insane how fast the van was gone. And then I was down to the tow yard or the impound yard or whatever it's called within the hour. It was maybe 90 minutes max from when they took the car to when I was there telling them I need my work van back with all my tools in it. $780. I didn't have $780. And that's what they do too. They limit, and they'll charge you by the hour. It's like, well, it's $180 an hour every hour that we store it. It's insane. San Francisco parking is absolutely insane. But you could take up a metered parking spot with a tent. You could camp out in the tent and do fentanyl. Nobody's going to say anything to you. Or if you have a broken down car and you're living out of it, that's fine. But if you're doing work in Pacific Heights, you got to come out and move your car every 2 hours. And if you go 10 minutes over, that little 3-wheeled buggy with the people in the bike helmets, they will ticket your ass. And it's $180 a ticket. San Francisco is anarcho tyranny.
Towing company's phone number, and the operator hung up on us. So we showed up to auto towing in the Bayview, searching for answers.
It's obviously closed. Let's try to call them again while we're here.
On the phone, we were told auto towing is no longer in business, and the person said they're not connected to specialty towing. SFPD is now urging other victims to come forward.
It is insane, but we do ask the victims to, if they have encountered something like this, to contact the police department immediately.
That dude's straight trying to steal the person's. They're in the car. They're backing up. Like, this is insane. And then they didn't even show, I think, or they might have shown it. But when the person got away and drove around the truck, the tow truck chased them. Like, they tried to chase him down. I think this is a repo attempt. Like, this person was behind on their car payments, it sounds like, and this is a attempted repossession. But like, you can't do that. You can't try to tow somebody's car when they're in it. This is insane. Freaking insane. All right, keep going here. Let's go over to my good buddy Eric Abenante, my friend, and he's talking about California elections. So all right, so that, oh my God, you guys, oh my God. You guys, there's a spider that was about to drop like onto my microphone right now. Holy crap. All right, I gotta hit this thing with something. I'm about to, I swear to God, you guys, I'm about to freaking shoot that thing. Oh my God. All right, I gotta kill a spider with the hat really quick. I think I got him. Holy crap. I saw it out of the corner of my eye. I don't know if that made it onto the camera. I hope it did. It was like right here. Black spider just hanging right in my face. I got the heebie-jeebies. Oh man, that was distracting. Okay, let me check in with the chat here. Freaking me out. The RGS. Thank you, Michael, for spreading the light on the lies and deceit. Keep pushing, man. Speak freely, speak proudly. Godspeed. All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm assuming you're logging off there. I almost hit you up to see if you wanted to go live with me tonight because I didn't have a show prepped. I'm gonna have you guys on my show sometime since I was on your show. Okay, we'll keep going here. 2 more things to show you guys before I get out of here. All right, this is from my good buddy Eric Abenante, and he has a documentary called The American History of Voter Fraud. I think that's what it's called. You guys should check it out. At Eric Abenante over on the X platform, and he says why you should not vote by mail from San Francisco Elections Commission President Robin M. Stone. And he quotes her. You know, I'm just going to play the video. Well, no, I'll read the whole thing. He says, vote by mail is increasingly how people are voting. Upward of 90% of what they don't know when they are voting by mail is that there is no more steps for the department. Is that there are more steps for the department with a vote by mail ballot. That processing takes longer. Some of the steps that the voter was having to take by going to the specific location to cast a ballot previously are passed on to the department, so it takes longer to count. It's also move towards me. It's all, I'm just going to play the clip. This is a person explaining how when you vote by mail, and remember, California's universal mail-in ballots. Everybody gets sent a ballot in the mail now. It's insane that they just made that a law that everybody gets a ballot in the mail, and there's no way that would have happened without COVID, without the lockdowns, and nobody can come and vote in person because we got a pandemic going on. And they're like, well, we're just going to keep this policy in place. No big deal, right? And then they explain, well, there's more steps for us to count it, and it takes longer. And they used to call them absentee ballots. Absentee ballots were the easiest way to commit fraud, notoriously, all the way leading up to this. And now just everyone gets an absentee ballot. It's freaking insane. Let's listen to this election official explain this. And remember, this election committee, the San Francisco election committee, has a non-U.S. citizen, Chinese, I believe, CCP member on the election committee, non-United States citizen on the election committee. Just a reminder. Everything is insane in California when it comes to elections.
Vote by mail is increasingly how people are voting, upwards of 90%. What they don't know when they are voting by mail is that there are more steps for the department with vote by mail ballots. So that processing takes.
This is the non-American citizen over here in the bottom right. This is the Chinese national that sits on this committee that has say in how elections should be run in San Francisco. A non-United States citizen.
Takes longer, as the director kind of talked through earlier, almost as if some of the steps that the voter was, having to take by going to a specific location to cast a ballot previously, some of those steps, though not exactly, are passed on to the department. And so it takes longer to count. And I think as the city and as the state have moved toward a lot more use of vote by mail, it's also important that we move the media to understand this as well. And I think it will. So
instead of saying, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have everyone gets to vote by mail, instead of saying that, they're like, we need to explain to the media how it takes longer now. So we need more time to count the ballots, commit fraud. Instead of getting rid of these programs that are just rife with problems across the board, instead of doing that, they're just, let's explain to the media why it's going to take us longer to count these ballots.
Alleviate some of the pressure on the department as well, if we can help reframe some of folks' expectations. So one thing that was really effective in 2020, if you all remember, the national media did a pretty effective job, and I know through the work of a lot of pro-democracy organizations as well, election night was no longer a night. It was very much positioned as election week. And I think that we can do, if we start talking about this now, some prep work on this ahead of November. We talked.
We can streamline this. We can make this faster. We just need to prep everybody to know that our elections are less secure and less efficient now. That's all we need to do. We don't need to actually solve the problem. We just need to whitewash the problem to make everybody accept the problem.
In the last meeting about how our ballots are going to be even longer in November than they were for the primary election. And so if that's the case, again, the process of managing all those vote by mail ballots will continue to be extended. And so it's really on us to make sure that the media is at least aware.
Unbelievable. Instead of fixing the problem, we just need to explain to everybody why the problem needs to exist. Unbelievable. Okay. Let's go over to this article from KTLA, and this sort of blew my mind. So this is California is giving up to $150,000 to help first-time home buyers. Oh, amazing. So I read this article, and the thing that jumped out at me was all applicants must be United States residents. I'm sorry. All applicants must be California residents, not California citizens, not United States citizens, California residents. And remember, you can become a United States resident if you are not from this country. That tells me that illegal immigrants will be eligible for this. And people say, oh, they still have to get approved for the loan, like the lenders, it'll be up to the lenders. I believe there will be loopholes to where illegal immigrants will be able to get these loans and buy homes. But people are pointing out that's not the real problem here. This guy says that's not what this is about. Home prices will rise by $150,000 as a result of this, right as Prop 13 is being repealed. Every homeowner will face an even higher spike in their property taxes. And that is what people are saying is with these AC1. With AC1, they're slowly trying to chip away to get rid of Prop 13. Prop 13 is it makes it so the California government can only tax your home at 1% of the house the original purchase price. So if you bought your house in the 50s, it's already paid off. Whatever the value of the home was when you bought it, that's what your property tax is, 1% of that. Repealing Prop 13 would allow the state government to reassess the value of your home at the current day's market, and then that's what your property tax is now. So people that have paid off their home have very low property taxes. All of a sudden, they wouldn't even be allowed to afford their house anymore. They'll have to sell it and move out. It would be a catastrophe for people that bought their homes back in the 60s, back in the 70s, even the 80s, and they've paid off their home, or maybe they've gotten they've refinanced. They got a second mortgage on their home, and their property taxes are still from California. Home prices have gone so crazy. You could have bought a house for $180,000 back in the 80s, and the thing's worth $1.6 million now. Like, that's how insane California housing prices have gone. So imagine you're paying 1% of $180,000, even just say $200,000, 1% of that, and then all of a sudden it gets reassessed at $1.5 million. People can't afford that. It's all of a sudden it's more than your house payment, your property taxes. So he says, this is from Richie Rich over here on Twitter. I mean, it's a smaller account, but I mean, he's right here. So AC1 will be on the November ballot, lowers the tax hike approval threshold from 2/3 to 55%. They get that through, and Prop 13 is basically gone. I thumbnailed a retired person I know. They bought their house for $185,000 in the 80s. Their property taxes are under $1,500 a year. Home is currently valued based on comps in the $1.2 to $1.5 million range. Just doing away with Prop 13 would make their property tax between $9,000 to $10,000 a year. So it would go from $1,500 a year to around $10,000 per year. That's insane. That's forcing them to sell, and then once the property changes hands, the new owner has to pay property taxes on the price that they bought it for. So it achieves the goal either way. It's insane. So that's what he thinks this is all about. But let's go to the actual article, and let's read the actual article here. I swear I got it posted here somewhere. What the heck? Okay, here we go. All right, let's go to the actual article. So, applications for California's down payment assisted program for the first time home buyers are now open. The state-funded program called Dream for All will be giving out $250 million to assist thousands of first-time home buyers this year. Buyers can receive up to $150,000 towards their purchase. Who is eligible? All borrowers, including co-borrowers, must be a first-time home buyer, defined as someone who has not owned a property or lived in a home owned by a spouse during the past 3 years. At least one person must be a first-generation home buyer, meaning their parents do not own a home in the United States. So if your parents own a home, sorry, folks, you're out of luck. All applicants must be California residents. Doesn't say citizens, California residents. Borrowers must plan to reside in the home as their primary residence. Applicants must make under the income limit threshold. Each California county will have a different income limit. Applicants must have a credit score of 680 or higher and a debt-to-income ratio of no more than 45%. Anyone who has ever been placed in foster care will not be eligible. What? Anyone who has ever been placed in foster care. If you're a foster kid, you're not eligible. Okay. The program will provide a loan of up to 20% of the purchase price of a home or a maximum amount of $150,000. The money can be used to help finance a down payment, closing costs, or a first-time mortgage. For example, if you bought a $500,000 home, you would receive 20% or $100,000 to help your home down payment and closing costs. If you sell the home in the future, you'll be required to pay back 20%, the 20% loan plus 20% of the home's appreciation. For example, if the $500,000 home sells for $700,000, there is a $200,000 appreciation. You would owe 20% of that, or $40,000, in addition to the original loan. However, if you sell your home and it hasn't grown in value at the time, you would only need to pay back the original 20% loan. There are exceptions for borrowers whose incomes are less than or equal to 80% of the area median income. For those borrowers, they would only need to pay back 15% of the home's appreciation along with the original loan. To see your income qualifications, use the Home Ready Lookup tool found here. How do I apply? Online applications for the Dream for All application are now open from April 3rd and will close on April 29th at 5 p.m. The winners will be chosen at random by lottery and on a first come, first served basis as previously done in 2023. All borrowers will need to complete a home buyer education counseling and get a certificate of completion through an eligible home buyer counseling organization. Officials advise potential applicants should speak with a CalHFA approved lender who is offering the Dream for All program to determine what documents and information may be needed. What happens if you're selected? Chosen applicants will have 90 days to find their home, enter the contract to purchase the home, and have the lender reserve the loan through the CalHFA's mortgage access program system. Those who aren't ready to speak with a loan officer just yet can also take a free HUD approved housing counselor who can analyze your finances and help you better prepare. The Dream for All program debuted in March 2023 as thousands of homebuyers quickly snatched up the $300 million allotted for payments. Online applications and information on the California Dream for All program can be found here. The program's official handbook can be found here. All documentation borrowers will need to apply can be found here. Okay. This thing sounds, people are telling me you should apply. I'm like, first of all, no, I can't afford anything. I'm barely scraping by with my rent right now. And this sounds like getting locked into I don't want to get in bed with the state. You got to pay back 20%. No, this sounds like a bad deal to me. And yeah, no, I don't want any part of this. I don't want any part of getting in bed with the state financially. Screw that. Hell no. I don't think so. All right. So that's happening. California shenanigans. All right, folks. I think that is all I got for the evening. Yeah, that is all. Yep, that is all I got. All right, RGS. All right, yeah, I gotta have you on the show sometime. Maybe next Friday. We'll see. So yeah, that job that I was supposed to start on April 1st, it fell through. It's not gonna happen. And I'm still a member of the union. I'm number 8 on the books. There was a job call last week. I was hoping I was gonna get it. I didn't. So looks like this is what I'm doing. I thought I was going to be switching to just doing 1 or 2 podcasts a week. I'm going to go hammer down and try to do one every night again. Maybe this becomes my job. I mean, the last 2 paychecks, they added up to $560. Now that's like 1/6 of what I would need to make to survive on just with the X platform. But if I stream more and say I could raise that up to $900 in a month, okay, that's half my rent. My rent's $1,800. And then I open up my merch store and maybe I get approved for my subscriptions application. And then I keep doing little side jobs around the town, that kind of stuff. I might be able to make it. just that. And yeah, I think I'm going to start going hard. I think I'm going to start going hard with the podcast, guys, and trying to just grind this out. It feels like God, like the big man upstairs, is pushing me towards, don't go work for somebody else. Make this work for yourself. Work for yourself. Create your own thing. The merch store, this shirt, I got this made yesterday while I was standing right in front of the person. My website's being worked on right now to set up to get pictures of the merch and all that different stuff. I'm going to have different t-shirts. We're going to do hats. We're going to do stickers. Probably going to do little beer mugs, even though I don't drink, with CaliBased logo on them. I got plenty of different logo ideas that we're going to do. And yeah, all of that stuff will be made locally. I won't be using some random online company to do it. I'll be using a local shop here in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Yeah, the stuff will probably be pretty expensive. It'll probably be like a $35 or a $40 t-shirt, but it's to help support the show. It's to help support local business, that kind of thing. And I think people will actually buy them. $40 is, yeah, it's expensive for a damn t-shirt, but they are cool shirts. This is a long tee. And I think I also want to offer these shirts that I like wearing. They're made by a company called La Tao Tao. And I like the way they're cut. They're cut long in the front and long in the back, a little shorter on the sides, but they're great for concealed carry. The shirts they're made for concealed carry. So I kind of want to offer what I'll call concealed carry shirts on my website. So I got all sorts of merch ideas. Tank tops for the ladies, might even do bikinis. I don't know. They sell all sorts of stuff at this Santa Cruz Mountain Clothing. And yeah, I went and talked with the owner yesterday. She's super cool. Her husband's super cool. Her kid does jujitsu. So yeah, I think that's going to be my thing. So, Northside sell drugs. No, I don't think I'm going to sell drugs. No, that doesn't sound like a good idea, Northside. I appreciate the recommendation, but I don't think drugs is going to be the way to go. But merch, yeah, definitely merch. So yeah, I think I'm going to be doing that. Yeah, that's the plan, guys. I'm my X account has gotten me to it's like I'm a niche micro internet celebrity, but I'm still at the risk of going homeless like pretty much every month. So I'm in like this. I always think back of what is that Will Smith movie where he was an apprentice on Wall Street? I can't remember the name. It was based on a true story, but I feel like I'm in the eat shit period where I just got to eat shit for a year, keep grinding, keep doing what I'm doing, keep trying to build my own thing, and it'll pay off. It'll work. And I'm not trying to get rich, but if I could do this and just survive, I will be a happy camper. I would love this. And also speaking events. I just had a meeting with Tracy Henderson from the California Parents Union, and we're trying to set something up to where I want to expose the wokeness in California, particularly in Santa Cruz and Monterey County, expose the wokeness, expose the radical Marxist trans agenda crap that's being jammed down kids' throats, all that stuff. And we got a plan on how to do that and try to set up speaking events where I have local people from the community from all over California that have horror stories about the state trying to take away their kid because they wouldn't affirm their gender, that kind of stuff. I've met so many cool people through this whole process, through running for office, all that kind of stuff. Matty Bracco, oh, come on, do Orange County. Do what in Orange County? I'd love to do something in Orange County. I love Orange County. Orange County is freaking awesome. I love Orange County. But yeah, thinking about doing like local, maybe once a month, once every couple of months, do a speaking event where we have like one keynote speaker, and then I have, 4 or 5 other people that like tell their stories and stuff for maybe 10 minutes. And then we have a keynote speaker. Like I would love to get James Lindsay, but I'm sure he's probably expensive to get him, but I would love to get somebody like a James Lindsay to come and give a talk about how what we're witnessing is Marxism at its core, and explain it in easy to understand, digestible ways, and get the community more involved in trying to pull our state out of the weeds, pull our state back into some sort of sane place and get people around here to understand that they are not in the minority. It's just you've been scared into silence. You've been beat into submission by all these radicals around here that are actually in the minority. They're just so loud. It seems like there's a lot of them, but there's not. So I got a lot of ideas, a lot of plans, a lot of things that are in the works. So yeah, that's my long rant of saying that it's like I'm being pushed in this direction to do this. I mean, not just the podcast, the X, exposing the wokeness, the merch store, speaking events, all the stuff. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, trying to fight to save California, try to win our state back. And that is what I want to do. I love this place. I was born here. I was raised here. I love California. And it used to be such a wonderful place to be. And I want the rest of the country to want to come back to California again. I want the rest of the country to be like, yeah, let's go on vacation to California, because nobody wants to do that right now. And that sucks. California still has the weather, still has Yosemite, still has the beaches, still has the mountains. You can still go snowboarding and surfing in the same day if you wanted to. Like, that's how many places can you do that? Go snowboarding and surfing in the same day, and mountain biking if you're really fast. Yeah, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing, guys. So that's my spiel. That's it. That's what I got. That is what I got for the evening, folks. Oh, crap. Where's my Chuck Norris book? Oh, it's way over there. It's out of reach right now. So I am going to have to tell a Chuck Norris joke off the top of my head. I think I've told this one before, but I'll tell it again just because I can't reach the book right now. But before we get out of here, Goat Cheese Millennial, MH and Ish, the RGS, Northside, Superhuman, Matty Bracco, B Sizzo, Jack Downing, all you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Always good to see you. I will be back here tomorrow night, probably same time. It'll probably be 8 o'clock tomorrow night too, because I got work in San Francisco tomorrow. I got to drive all the way there, and I'll be doing some side jobs. So that's what we got for the evening, folks. I hope you enjoyed the show. I will see you tomorrow night. Before we get out of here, you know how we do it. We got to read a joke from the greatest book ever written, The Truth About Chuck Norris. Even though I can't reach the book, it'll just be one off the top of my head that I still remember. All right, Chuck Norris joke of the evening. Chuck Norris's dick is so big, it has its own dick. And Chuck Norris's dick's dick is bigger than your dick. Stay CaliBased.